Hello everyone, it's Devana, of course. I have been saying for some time now that I was going to do a video about this and that, and one of the big ones that I said I was going to do is a visa update. So, if you've been following the journey, gosh, I don't even remember. I think I sent in my original application for this whole fiancé visa thing in June of 2020. I think. I don't know. Check the video before. I did a timeline specifically. So my husband arrived here in October of 2021 last year with his son, and then we got married in December of 2021. At that time, I was working, again, videos all about this, working a bunch of gigs to make ends meet, was having trouble finding a full-time job, and I ended up getting one. We were at the point where I was like, I don't know what we're gonna do. This is not working. We gotta figure this out. And I got a job at the end of January. At the end of January 2022, a full-time job. I was very iffy about taking that job because the interview process was weird. It was weird. I might have to do a video about that specifically. It was just odd. It gave me bad vibes. It gave unorganized, just a lot of things. But I was not in the position, even though I had those feelings and knew something was up, I was not in the position to not accept work. So I got that job. I worked that from January until April, when I got another job just in the nick of time. Again, another backstory. So we sent our application in April. And there's a lot of reasons why that took so long that I don't know if I'm actually going to discuss, but there's a lot of reasons why that took so long. But we got the paperwork sent in April, and it's a lot. That paperwork is a lot. I think that was harder than the original petition that I sent to ask for everything from the beginning. I felt very much more informed about the process in the beginning than I did with this portion. This also asks for a lot more, and I will have to do a separate video on what we included in there and what they ask for. So we turned that in mid-April, and one of the reasons that we did wait that I want to share is because you have to be making a certain income to qualify for the yes from the government. And with my gigs and stuff like that, it was very up and down. I was not confident that I was going to meet those numbers with that employment situation. So once I got the full-time job and I knew, all right, I passed the threshold for the poverty level for, a family of 4, then I felt more comfortable sending in our paperwork. So I submitted the paperwork with all my job stuff, actually had a couple paychecks under my belt, things like that. And sent the paperwork in April, and then they did the biometrics appointment where they get fingerprints and things like that. They had to go to Phoenix to do that. Calvin and his son had to go. They did not schedule them on the same day. They scheduled one on a Monday and one on a Tuesday. I don't know if there would have been the opportunity to have them both on the same day, but I figured that's what they would have done. Why would you schedule a minor differently? But that's what they did. So we had to go up there 2 different days to get their fingerprints done, and those were both at the end of May. And after that happened, we were like, okay, things are moving, hopefully we'll hear something. And then we got something back from the government saying that there were errors, things were missing, this and that kind of stuff. It's called an RFE, or Request for Evidence. Request for Evidence is what it's called. So I had to do the application process basically over again. I added in some more things. I had changed jobs since then, and with that job I had gotten a pay increase, so I also added that in there, that new income information, things like that. So we had to submit that paperwork once again. That didn't get sent in until the end of June. And there's just a lot going on with life right now, and that paperwork is so heavy and so comprehensive and so detailed, and it was just a lot for me to put together. It really was. I am so thankful I got it out of the way, but then turning it in April, I was like, ugh, I can breathe. Getting that letter to see this is all that you have to do again and resubmit, I was like, this is a cruel joke. Cruel joke. So we submitted the paperwork, everything, did what we needed to do over again. sent it in at the end of June, and then you're supposed to get a response within 30 days of submitting the application, just them saying like, hey, we got it, you'll hear from us when you hear from us. So it's been past 30 days. We have not got that letter, so I made sure to check with the agency that we sent, like the postal agency we sent the file from, make sure it got to the right address, make sure it was actually delivered, get confirmation, all that stuff. So we know from them that it got there, but we do not know from the government that they have it. And this is odd because so far in my experience, we've done this all during this, I don't think you're supposed to say it, but we've done it all during, this time of everything going on. So everything's of course been slower. However, that is one thing that I have not had an issue with. Usually, like by the time I send in my paperwork, within like 2 weeks, I get, like 2 weeks or a week, I get a text, and then you get a physical paper saying like, we received your documents, you'll hear from us again. This time, I haven't got those papers, so it makes me very uneasy for a couple reasons, because we had to respond by a certain date. We responded well within the amount of time we were given to respond, but now we don't have anything from them saying, yes, we received your documentation before the end date. So I'm always worried that there's going to be some funny stuff and they're going to be like, oh, well, we didn't get it in time, because I don't have anything to argue that other than the tracking, which I doubt would stand up to what they have to say. My other concern is just that the longer all of this takes, what I really want, this is for the green card process. It's called the adjustment of status. Sorry, I did not explain that. It's called the adjustment of status. So that means that now that Calvin and his son are in the United States, legally they entered, but they were on a visa that lasted 90 days. So then they have to adjust their status to become permanent residents with green cards. Then they get travel documents, which allow them to leave the United States. Right now they cannot leave the United States. Travel documents, an EAD, which is a card that gives them permission to work before they get their green card. Another point that I totally forgot to mention is within the documents that we had to fill out, so we had to do, because it's not just one person, we have to do double just about everything. I think there's just one thing that we only had to do, and again, when I go over the paperwork, I'll go over this. There's one thing that we got to do for, like, this goes for both of them. So you have to do double. So when I'm filling out Calvin's son's paperwork, I have to put all of his documentation in there, and then all of his dad's documentation in there as well. And then Calvin's last to do his separate. So that's another reason it took a longer time, is because it's so much work and so much information and so much to keep organized. But one thing that, and maybe I'm wrong about this, I'm not an immigration lawyer, but one thing, we had to submit documentation for the request for employment, the EAD card, for Calvin's son and Calvin. And I'm trying to figure out why in the world do we have to do that documentation for the child, since he's only 8, and by the time he is able to legally be able to work, he will have had the opportunity to become a citizen. I don't know. I desperately want that card. Haven't got that yet, and then you apply for the green card as well, and then you submit an application with all your financial information. So we're waiting on those papers. It's possible to get the EAD and the travel document before the green card. However, I don't think that's happening as much with how this process is going, but before that was definitely a possibility, and that's what I'm still praying for. The other thing that has concerned me about not receiving the confirmation that they received their documentation is just that if you look through that packet, I mean, like, birth certificates, social security cards, passports are in there, birth certificates are in there, credit card numbers, bank statements. I mean, like, every personal detail that you can imagine that you have had to be submitted. Like, all of my business is in that document, and I can't believe that we have to send it through mail. Because what if you put the wrong address by accident? What if the person types the wrong number? I don't know, so I'm happy that we got the confirmation that it went to where it went to, but it makes me so uneasy that all those important personal papers are together and I haven't got the official, we got it. So that's the hang up there. Right now, as this entire process consistently has been, it is a waiting game. We just have to wait for them to get back to us, wait for them to tell us what's going on, hopefully not have any more, we're missing this, we need this from you. And the big point, because when I talk about this more frequently on Instagram. YouTube is like, I don't know, it's a lot for me. I want to get into it more, but it's a lot for me. So I give more regular updates on Instagram, so follow me there. Oh, I had shared that So the next point in this process would be, so what we're waiting on specifically, like I said, we can get the travel documents, we can get the working document, we're waiting on the green card, but you do have to do an interview. So the next, after they send the confirmation, we got your papers, then they would send papers saying, okay, here's your interview date, in which we go, they talk to us, like if you ever watch The Proposal, you know, at the end when they actually get married and they go through the interview process, similar to that, just to make sure, like, is your relationship legitimate, are you guys scamming us, that kind of thing. So we have to do an in-person interview, and then after that we'd be permitted to get the green card. There are a couple situations in which I think people have not had interviews, like that's waived, but I don't think that's common, so I'm not expecting that. So waiting on that notification that they got our documents, then waiting on the interview scheduling, and then once the interview is scheduled, at that time they let you know if you're missing anything, which prayerfully will not. Usually that's decision time. Well, they'll say, all right, you guys sound legitimate, your paperwork is on the way, or here's your green card. So that's what we're waiting on. I had another point that I wanted to make, and I do not remember what it was. So hopefully in a roundabout way you kind of understand that one of the big issues is that Calvin cannot work. The reality is that we are living in the United States, in Arizona, with 4 people on 1 income. Y'all, it's a lot. It's a lot. And probably when this is all done, I will, like, maybe I'll do a video like about some honest feelings about this, but just like, it's a lot, it's too much, it's unrealistic. We all know what the economy and the inflation and housing prices and things like cost of living is at right now, and for one person to support 4 people, it's a lot. So for him to not be able to work is just like, it's another stressor. Being married, being a blended family, being in an intercultural relationship, like there's a lot to that, and then on top of this, like the financial stress just adds an unnecessary layer. So we need that working permit for him so that he can work. During this time, some of the things we've tried to do is, like, he's getting certified in some of his trades and skills and things that he had before, so that when he is able to apply for jobs, he has accredited certifications that will be recognized here to hopefully, you know, increase his likelihood of getting hired, increase his ability to get paid a higher amount, things like that. So we're working on that. The big point, this is what I was trying to say when I lost my train of thought about Instagram, is I shared that, do you know, at this point in the process, and even when we get to the interview, do you know the government can say no? I mean, for many reasons they can say no. They could say no. And that would mean that we have now brought a child here from Jamaica, we are now married and are building a life, and they could say no, and that would mean that he would have to leave the country. Well, we would have to go through like the appeal process to try to argue against it, but that doesn't necessarily mean yes. That means more paperwork, that means more money, that means more time to potentially get a yes. So the government can still say no at this point. And I know that is mind-blowing, mind-boggling. So that is where we are at. I always tell people, and a couple people have asked me, I've had some friends or people who have said, like, would you recommend this process? No, I would not. I'm going to leave it there. I think that'll have to be another video to, like, explain why I would say no, but I wouldn't recommend it. This is a lot. It is a lot. We are hanging in there. We are praying, fasting, trusting in God that this is going to happen hopefully sooner than later, but that is where we are at. So maybe you kind of understand why I haven't hopped on camera to talk about like this dismal reality of where we are, because it's a lot. It's very trying. So that is it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something you didn't know. If you have a question, I'm more than happy to answer them. You can put them in the comments. Please follow me on Instagram, send me a message, whatever. Let me know what you want to hear more about. I'm trying to be very open about this process. However, because it's really deep, sometimes I have some trouble like pulling myself together to get to the point to talk about it, but I'm more than happy to share. So thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.